The way that police and social workers approach the whole issue of child sexual exploitation seems to start at the wrong end. They're trained to look for abuses in the family, and very often in our experience, and the experience of other parents and families, they don't understand the nature of exploitation when it happens outside the family. They don't look for it, and they don't see it. If it's there, very often they don't know how to deal with it.
What they tend to do instead is to blame at the worst, or at the very least exclude parents and families. The media talk a great deal about grooming, but they don't actually explain what grooming does, what grooming is. It drives a wedge between a child and her family, such that she begins to see her abusers, the exploitative men, as her friends and her protectors, instead of her family.
Was that your experience?
That is the experience not only of us, but of all the other families we've made contact with. There's quite a support network of families of sexually exploited children, and it's their voice we want to be heard. The parents' voice is not heard. Parents are assumed to be almost irrelevant or negligent, or to have contributed in some way to their children having become victims of sexual exploitation, and that simply is not the case. It may be the case in the minority, but sexual exploitation can happen to anyone's child.
That must be extraordinarily difficult and wounding, hurtful for parents in that position, because something awful is happening to your daughter and you are almost being blamed for it.
Exactly.
That's absolutely it.
The repeated experience is where the social workers or police are struggling to understand this. All they see is a child or a teenager who is acting beyond their years, and almost automatically, as a way of understanding it, they think there must be a fault with the parents, there must be a problem with the family. And in a sense there is, but it's a family where the grooming process has managed to drive a wedge between the child and the parents are powerless to do anything about it. It's an invidious situation to be in, because on the one hand you see a child being exploited, and there's very little you can do about it. And then agencies intervene, and the implicit message is, it's your fault. If you had done something different about it, then it would not have happened.
You then got in touch with CROP, the charity that works with parents to try to stop child sexual exploitation. How did that help?
They have parent support workers. They accompany parents to meetings, such as safeguarding meetings. It's a multi-agency meeting, usually led by social services, which is held when a child is deemed to be at risk. Historically, parents have quite frequently been excluded from attending safeguarding meetings because of the assumption of somehow the parents were the cause of the child being at risk. Increasingly, through the experience of some parents and through the support of support workers employed by the charity CROP, what happens is that the agencies are helped to appreciate that including parents in the safeguarding meetings and processes can actually contribute to helping make the child feel safe.
So, as a result of those meetings, you were able to get involved to persuade the various agencies who should have been looking out for your daughter that working together with parents was better. You felt you were able to make a difference.
I think what is different is, instead of seeing parents as a part of the problem or the cause of the problem, that there are some agencies that understand that if you work with the parents and with the families, that you can get much better results. And if you can listen to their experience and support them, and you actually begin to put the family back together again, the parents and the exploited child can begin to talk to each other, to repair relationships. And otherwise the effect of the grooming is to split the family from top to bottom.
And have you been able to put your family back together?
It's a long-term process. The effects of grooming are severe, and they carry on for years and years and years. A child who's been groomed, and to be groomed successfully and drawn into sexual exploitation, means the child has to break the link with the parent. Otherwise the exploitation is not going to happen. They have to break what is the normal relationship between a parent and a child, the protective relationship. And then at that point, police and social workers come along. They see the family at loggerheads, and they think that this must be a dysfunctional family. Well, it is. It's dysfunctional in that the grooming has been effective, and the child is pretty well beyond the control of the parents.
That's what listeners need to understand, what grooming is. It's not just a headline. It's a complex and skilled process that's carried out by criminals, and families need to be supported, not maligned, because that compounds the abuse.